Okay, so we have a topic, the cycle reloaded. It's a recursive title. It's a cycle, and now we are reloading it because we did it during the course, but we are reloading it now. But also, it's time to reload the cycle from the beginning. So it's a big topic. Let's see what we are reloading. I know that we are all here Brahmins and that we have all spoken a lot about the course and we understand. But let's see if I can explain it a little bit from logical point of view. I'm not saying that you haven't had the chance to understand it in a logical way before, but the background that was given, my background that was given at the beginning, is only relevant because I would like you to understand that how this mind was trained, and that I will probably be saying the same thing that you heard in the course, but explained in a logical way. So let's see if we are able, through this way, go a little bit deeper in understanding of the cycle. And before we get into the nitty-gritty of the cycle, I would like to revise or pose some postulates which you probably all know, but I would like to pose them so that we are all on the same wavelength, but also because I would like to recall them while I'm talking about the cycle. So yes, our very first lesson in the course was I am a soul. And because the word soul is abstract word, I tend to define the soul through a slightly more tangible way, which basically is the body is made of flesh, bones, blood, and it's also made of the 5 elements, water, air, and so on. Water is the most present element. And just like in the physical world, there is a relation between the body and what it needs, and the relation is what the body is made of. That's what the body needs. In the same way, the same relation stands in the spiritual sense, which is the soul is made of what it needs. Now, made of is a physical word, but what can we do? We don't maybe contains. Again, it's a physical word, but I hope you understand because we lack spiritual words because contain is sounds like material, but it isn't. So what is it that the soul needs, regardless of the age of the body? The soul always needs love, peace, and happiness, and this is exactly what it's made of. So basically, in a more tangible way, I tend to define the soul as the source of love, source of peace, source of happiness. So that is the definition I tend to use for the soul, and I'm sure for most of you this is a revision. Okay, and then what Baba mentions quite a lot is in Hindi, it's Yatha Shakti. Yatha Shakti is translated in the Murlis with the word capacity. However, I prefer to use the word potential. Even though these two words are very similar by meaning, I prefer the word potential because the word capacity has a cap. And I feel like there is a ceiling and I cannot go above. I cannot go through. Of course, it's the same meaning, I think, more or less 99%. I can't think of aspects that they're different. It's just the feel. I feel the potential better because the potential is there in the seed and it's waiting to burst. And this is why I would like to call Yatha Shakti, I would like to translate it as potential of the soul. And the potential of the soul determines our number in number-wise, when Baba calls number-wise. And how would I define the potential? I would define the potential as the ability of the soul to experience and express unconditional love, unconditional peace, unconditional happiness, i.e., self, because this is what the soul is. And according to this ability for the soul to experience and express unconditional love, peace, and happiness, it gets a number and its potential. Really, what do I mean by potential is, and what is considered by number-wise, it's really the spiritual DNA of the soul. Just like we are all different with, according to our physical potential DNA, the same way each soul is different by its spiritual DNA. So all the souls are the same in the way they're made of love, peace, and happiness, but they are different according to their potential, according to their number, according to their ability to experience and express love, peace, and happiness. Hopefully we are okay with this. This is very important to understand before we enter the cycle. Okay, so Yatha Shakti, I can spell it later, or somebody who knows can spell it now. So let's say, just for the sake of it, that there is a moment in the cycle when none of the souls are incarnated. We know from the Mulis that this moment doesn't exist, but we need to start somewhere. Just for the sake of the story, let's assume that there is a moment that there are no souls in the physical world. There are no incarnated souls, just for a moment. Let's say all the souls are in the soul world. Now, okay, in the soul world, there is no action. Nothing happens in the soul world. The only verb we can use for the souls in the soul world is they exist, or they are, the verb to be, or some passive verbs, because they cannot do anything. And now, using my training, my profession, I will use the comparison with the zip file. So the zip file, you know what is a zip file? It's a compressed file, which is too big, cannot be transmitted. It's too big, so we compress it. Everything is there, but you cannot do anything to it. You cannot change, you cannot add, you cannot take away from it. It just exists and nothing else. This is comparable to a soul in the soul world. And in order to be able to do something to this zip file, to add, to change or something, it needs to unzip. Exactly for the soul. In order for the soul to experience and express, it needs to unzip. And how does the soul unzip? By entering a body. So the soul enters the body, unzips by entering the body, and from that moment, while it's in the physical world, in a body, can experience and express self, which is love, peace, and happiness. And those souls in the soul world who have a high potential, by the way, when I say high and low, I don't mean better or worse. We know that. Just like all the colors in the rainbow, there is no better or worse. They're just different. So all the souls, 8 point something billion, we are all different DNA, unique DNA. Nobody is better or worse. And that's it. We're just different. So souls with different potentials are just different. Some have higher potential to experience and express love, peace, happiness, and some have lower, some low. Doesn't matter. We are all different, and it's good. The drama is colorful that way. So those souls who are in the soul world, who have, so now at this moment, all of them are in the soul world. And there is a moment when those with high potential, and then repeat the definition, high ability to experience and express unconditional love, peace, and happiness, they will start itching a little bit, so I don't know what to call it, to enter a body because they can't wait to experience and express love, peace, and happiness. And that is the very reason why the souls with high potential enter the physical world first, because they want to experience and express. And they are also aware that this is the only reason why souls enter body. You know, when I give courses and talks, people very often ask, what is my purpose? I don't know what my purpose is. There is one purpose only. The purpose is to experience and express love, peace, and happiness. There is no other purpose. I may be asking myself how I can experience and express through art, through science, through talking, through writing, through different skills, the method. But we all have one single reason for entering a body, which is experiencing and expressing love, peace, and happiness, because when we experience and express, we enhance. And we, the souls with high potential, I mean all of us here, hopefully Brahmins, hopefully doesn't sound egocentric, but this is what we are studying. We are studying to acquire golden aged sanskaras and finally make the golden age. So hopefully we are all here with high potential, itching to enter the physical world as soon as possible. And this is why those souls will be entering the cycle first, at the beginning. And all the souls at the beginning are in the golden age in heaven. I'm not explaining these terms in detail because I'm expecting we are all familiar with them. So we are all entering with the awareness that we are here. The only reason we are in bodies is to experience and express love, peace, and happiness. And that is the only reason why we are entering the body. And that's all we do when we enter a body. We are highly conscious. So what happens then? I will now share the simplest possible picture of the cycle that I use. Probably you too. Okay, here it is. Hopefully you can see it. Okay, so here are some souls that have entered the cycle. They have entered the physical world. Now, what are the characteristics of the physical world? They are changeable. The physical world is changeable. It changes all the time. So, with the fact that the soul enters the physical body, changes start to happen. Actually, I would be brave to say that time is used to experience change. You know, in physics, all the changes are experienced through time. Time is needed in order to express change. So as soon as we enter the physical world, and there is a time is very often said that it is the fourth dimension of the physical world. Time starts ticking and change happens. What is the change that happens? The soul in the physical world slowly but surely starts changing the consciousness, i.e., it degrades. The consciousness starts degrading. Now, very often souls ask, when does each soul join the cycle, the physical world? So I'll try to explain this now. So let's say there is a few souls here, however many they are at the very beginning. They live together in this physical world, but because the consciousness degrades, when the level of their consciousness reaches the level of the potential of the soul that hasn't come down yet. That is the moment when, on civilization level, we reach consciousness of the level that matches some other soul's potential. That is exactly the moment when that soul joins the cycle. And then we continue traveling together. At this moment, we are lower. Let's say here somewhere is about 15. According to the Murlis, this is 14. But 15 is not in half, because we very slowly degrade in the beginning, and then it speeds up. So I would say 15 is here somewhere, and this is 14. And then when we reach some 15 celestial degrees, let's say, for example, the souls that match, so when 15 celestial degrees matches the maximum, the potential of another soul that hasn't incarnated yet, that's when that soul joins. And here 14, and so on, so on, so on. The consciousness goes down, it degrades, and population grows. So we, in a mathematical way, we would say the higher the population, the lower the consciousness, or vice versa, the lower the consciousness, the higher population.
Sorry, Dusha. Can you speak a little bit slower?
I will, thank you.
Thank you.
I get too excited about this subject. Thank you. So the conclusion is, the lower the consciousness, the higher population. The higher consciousness, the lower population. So that's vice versa. Inversely proportionate. Okay. And then we continue traveling, and I will not be repeating what we all know. So how consciousness becomes lower and lower, and the religion starts. And as the religion starts, every single religion, as well as every single soul, at any moment, they join their own subjective golden age. This is the real golden age. This is the one that we literally experience. But what does golden age mean for later? Means it's their own golden age, it's their own honeymoon, it's their own best period, but it's not the best period that can be. And so on. All the souls and all religions go through those subjectively through their 4 ages, while the souls that joined before, at the beginning, they literally experience all the 4 ages. And in the end, we have confluence age. Okay, so as we all know, as Baba says in the Murlis, the cycle is 5,000 years. Then I was thinking, as a scientist, and from everything else that I heard before, 5,000 sounded too short. And of course, I started investigating. I took there is a mathematical model that is being used for predicting the population in advance. What is going to be the population, let's say, in 10 years or so. And this model has been used for quite some time, and it's pretty accurate. So I said, if it is pretty accurate going forward, it should be pretty accurate going backwards. So I used the model backwards, and I went backwards, and you won't believe it, that 5,000 years was even too long. So I started investigating because it was too short, it seemed too short. But using the model, it turned out to be too long because I couldn't stretch the formula to go to 0 for over 5,000 years. You know what I mean? The population to go down to 0, or don't go down to 100 or 1,000, you know, or some small number. And then what I was thinking was, in the beginning, my first answer to that was, maybe because you know, there's a lot of calamities halfway through the cycle here, and the population reduces dramatically here. So I thought maybe that slowed down the population. However, by studying history, I realized that every time we have a drastic reduction of population, all of a sudden we have baby booms. Why? And that's logical for us because we know how it works. It's logical because the souls who have incarnated into the cycle once, they cannot go back to the soul world. They have to incarnate again. And if many of them all of a sudden leave their bodies, they'll have to incarnate. They might linger a bit, you know, without a body, but eventually, very soon, they'll have to enter. And this is what baby booms sort out. All of a sudden, lots of babies are being born. And you can notice this through history after the First World War, after the Second World War, after all those calamities. So that fact didn't give me the answer, didn't give me a good reason to stretch the formula. So I was thinking, what could be the reason? And then I was thinking, how does the population grow at the very beginning? Baba very often says in the Murlis that the lives in the golden age, on average, last 150 years. So I'm thinking, okay, when do we get married? When do we have children? In some classes, I've heard that maybe we get children at the age of 75. But if that is so, then the grandparents will never see their grandchildren. So just for the sake of some logic, I would say, let's make it 50. Okay? So let it be 50. When we get married and have children, so let's call that first generation. Let's just use a model because not literally everybody gets born at the same time and everybody's 50 at the same time. Of course not. But in order to follow the logic. So let's say the first generation is born and live up to the age of 50. Then they get married and they have children. And because it's ideal world, two parents will give birth to two children. That moment, the population doubles because each couple made two children. So the population doubles. Okay, but it's like a sudden step. If this was 100 or 200, it doesn't matter, X. This will be 2X all of a sudden. Okay, when the second generation is 50, the first generation is 100. Now, the second generation will get married and give birth to the third generation. And then the first generation is 100, but they're still alive. That means 3 generations are present in these 50 years. And the population is now triple to when it started. And then when the first generation leaves their bodies, the souls have to come back. The fourth generation, when the third generation is 50 and gives birth, it will give birth to the first generation. That means after 50 years, the population doubles. In the third generation, the population triples, but then stagnates for a very long time because the original souls are being recycled, reincarnated again and again. For a very long time, the population stagnates. And this is what allows the formula to stretch to 5,000 years. Hopefully you all understand my terminology or way of expression. And when we reach 15 celestial degrees, and this is not something I've read in the movie, but I'm assuming either 15 or 14, because at that moment our consciousness has degraded a little bit. The world is not as perfect as in the beginning. So at that moment, at some point there, irregularity starts, and that irregularity means that two parents may give birth to three children. And that's when the population starts growing. And until then, it really is a straight line. So it goes first step, second step, third step, and then stagnates for a very long time until our consciousness degrades sufficiently enough for irregularities to start. For example, having three children or more. Probably not at the very beginning. So I can see many questions are coming. I don't know if they're relevant about what I'm talking about. I'm happy to answer relevant questions when I'm talking about what I'm talking about, or at the end, whatever is preferred. Okay. So now, many scientists are debating whether time is linear or cyclical. And I'm glad to hear that more and more scientists, as time passes, which is fun, time passes, we're talking about time, but anyway, so when I'm glad that more and more scientists are coming to a conclusion it is cyclical. However, what we know here in this knowledge, in this gyan, is that even though the two worlds, the spiritual and the physical, are absolutely parallel and synchronized and happen at the same time, we know that the spiritual is primary and the physical is secondary. So whatever happens in one, it materializes in the other. Okay. I will be brave to say that consciousness, our consciousness, soul's consciousness, materializes in a form of time, because the existence of time is a consequence of change in consciousness. If the consciousness was not changing, time wouldn't need to exist. Why? Because the changes happen, all the changes in the physical world happen on the basis of the changes in our consciousness. So let's assume if our consciousness was not changing, that means we would all enter the golden age, and then on, our consciousness would not degrade. So we wouldn't go through gold, silver, and so on ages. We wouldn't go through this. So it would be one constant level of consciousness. And for that, time wouldn't need to exist, because time expresses change. And because there is no change, there is no need of time. But time is necessary in the physical world because the physical world changes. So that means it is absolutely inevitable for the souls to degrade, the consciousness of the souls to degrade when they enter the physical world. Of course, we explain it in the course with using the words, okay, from one body to another, from one life to another. We don't carry our conscious memory, subconscious, yes, and sanskaras, yes, but we do not carry our conscious memory. And that's why the level of consciousness we have at the end of the life, that's the level of consciousness we start with the next life, the following life. And because in one life we a little bit degrade, we start identifying with the body, very little at the beginning, but it happens. But our next life will start from a slightly lower point, and it will very slightly degrade during that life, and then so on and so on. So we will increase the degradation from one life to another. So our starting points at each life is going to be lower and lower. So this is how we explain it in the course, to say that our consciousness is degrading. However, what I'm trying to explain now is that it is absolutely inevitable because we are entering a world of change. This is characteristic of the physical world. It's a world of change. And this is why our consciousness degrades, and time is necessary to increase, to exist, in order to have some manifestation of our consciousness. So I would be brave to say that the existence of time is a consequence of change in our consciousness. It's basically manifestation of our consciousness. And because our consciousness goes in a cycle, the time doesn't have a choice but go in a cycle. Why cycle? If you can imagine, we have, when we enter the body, we, at the very beginning, let's say we are here. And then if it degrades, it's not a straight line because it degrades very slowly in the beginning, almost level. Then very slowly starts speeding up. And right now in the Iron Age is almost vertical, coming to zero. I'm talking about the consciousness of the civilization, the level of consciousness on civilization level. And then all of a sudden, in this confluence age or diamond age, it goes very quickly up in short period of time. It goes to the same level where it was to start with. But if we draw it like this, then this point here needs to be the same as where we started because it's the same level. It doesn't look like a circle, but we are presenting it as a circle because that is the most convenient shape to say that this point and that point are exactly the same. We start from the beginning, and this is why we use the cycle. And while we are at it, I will also try to answer another question that I very often receive, which is, why does the cycle repeat identically? Okay, I will share my picture again. I'll attempt to answer the question, why does the cycle repeat identically? Okay, so right now I'm doing something. Let's say a situation has happened, and I will react somehow to the situation. How am I going to cope or react to a situation? What does my behavior depend on? Okay, our behavior depends on two things. We're simplifying this, but basically two things. One is my potential, which is a constant. This is my best self, and that never changes. So we can never push through the potential. My potential is my best self. This is my number in number-wise. Okay? But also another factor that influences my behavior right now, or how I'm going to react, is my current distance from this potential. So I start from the maximum, that's my potential, but I've degraded in meantime, and right now I am at certain distance from my potential. So let's say on the picture, let's say I enter here at my maximum, but right here, my consciousness has degraded. So I'm not at my potential right now. So right here, when I'm living in this moment on Earth, my potential is the same, but my distance from the potential is bigger. Here, my distance from potential was 0. We started our potential. But after some time, our potential is lower. Okay, something happens here. How am I going to respond to the situation? That depends on my potential and my distance from the potential. And let's say later on, when my consciousness has degraded even more, so let's say I'm here now, let's say the same situation happens again, but my potential is the same still, that doesn't change, but my distance from the potential is lower. So that means at this time here, even though my potential is the same, the situation is the same, my response to the situation will be different because my consciousness is lower. Okay, so if we understood this, then we can address the identity. So if, let's say, this is the cycle and it has happened, I've behaved in a certain way across the whole cycle, depending on my potential and my current distance from the potential. Okay, now the second cycle starts, let's say. Now, the consciousness starts degrading with the same speed. So at the same point of the cycle, my consciousness is going to be at the same level as it was in the same moment of the previous cycle. So my behavior is going to be exactly the same at that moment because my potential is always the same and the level of my consciousness at that moment is going to be the same. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing as I did in the previous cycle. And the same for all possible moments in my little drama. So my little drama is going to be identical. However, if the same happens for another soul and another soul and another soul, all those small dramas are identical, then the union of all those small dramas, which is going to create the one big drama, is going to be absolutely identical. And again, I'll mention in mathematics, eternity is possible only when there is a repetition. There is one field in mathematics, it's called infinite geometry. And to be honest with you, these aspects of infinity, eternity, unlimitedness, all those terms in Baba's Gyan, I have understood, through knowing all this terminology from mathematics, because mathematics is very abstract, and that trained me really well to understand spirituality deeper. But I do get lots of questions. How did you combine spirituality and mathematics and science? And it's a valid question, but for me, those two are inseparable. And if you go back and remember the most successful scientists, they were all spiritual, because science without spirituality, or at least philosophy, is very dry and it's but linear. So those two go really well with me, and it helped me a great deal to understand eternity. So when something is eternal, doesn't get created, cannot be destroyed. And this is us, the souls. And time, in order for time to be eternal, it has to go into circles, and it has to repeat identically. But since I mentioned mathematics, I also mentioned that in mathematics there is a method for proving theorems, special theorems. Like if a theorem is stating that there is only one and only one of something, those theorems are normally proved with a proof which is called proof by contradiction. And in that case, what we do is, okay, you are stating that there is only one, but let's assume, hypothesis is, that there are two. And then we analyze those two, and then we see that they are exactly the same, but we analyzed it already through the potential and the distance from the potential. We analyze them. In the end, we see that they are identical. So literally, the conclusion is, if there are two, they must be identical. So that is the logic that I used in what I've just explained. Okay, I've said a lot, but I can see many questions. So I'll probably need to go back to some of the things that I've said and clarify. So I better leave more time for questions, I think.
Yes, there are not actually many questions.
Oh, no? Okay, no problem.
Yeah, there are two.
Yeah.
New souls also are descending from the soul world. Hence,
Yeah.
population should be increasing also in Golden Age, right?
They are increasing, but very slowly, because our consciousness degrades slowly. There won't the fact, the conditions on the planet will not give on the planet there won't be conditions for others to come down, because the consciousness on the civilization level will have to be the same as the potential of the soul. Otherwise, if the soul comes out of time when the civilization, the level of consciousness on the civilization level is higher or lower, they won't feel like they belong. They won't know what to do. So the consciousness on civilization level throughout the whole cycle is more or less the same. The only difference is now in confluence age, when we have two ages, parallel ages. We live in the physical world, but with the consciousness, we are on another level. We are in confluence age. While living in the Iron Age, we are preparing the foundation of the Golden Age. So this is the only time, the confluence age is only time in the cycle when we have two different levels of consciousness. The rest of the cycle, on civilization level, we travel together, those who are present, and then as they come down, when they reach the level that matches the potential of the soul that hasn't arrived yet, that's the moment that the soul arrives. So yes, the population grows in confluence in Golden Age, but very, very, very slowly. And the slow speed, I explained through, remember when we went through the generations, first generation, second and third, all giving birth around the age of 50 and so on. So when the first generation reaches 50, and when the second generation reaches 50 and the first 100, when the third generation reaches 50 and the first reaches 150, that's when the first generation goes. But they have to be incarnated. They must be incarnated. We know that nobody goes back to the soul world. They have to, once they enter the cycle, have to stay until the end. And why is that? Because what pulls us, apart from the first life, what pulls us into new incarnation is the karma that we created, because karma needs to be settled. But because our consciousness degrades, instead of settling karma, we create more. And then we are even more pulled into another life. So we go into one life after another. So once in the cycle, always in the cycle. That's it. no going. So that means the first generation has to be incarnated as soon as they leave their bodies. And they leave their bodies when they're 150, but the third generation is 50. So the babies that they give birth to, the third generation, will have to give birth to the first generation. When the fourth generation gets, fourth generation is actually the first generation. When they come to 50, they will give birth to the second generation. That means the population stagnates for a very long time until, so it's a straight line, until there is a significant change in the awareness. This is why I assumed maybe 15 or 14 degrees celestial. I don't know, because Baba hasn't said this in the morning, but it has to significantly reduce for irregularity to start happening. Because in the beginning, two parents, two children, all this time. And when our consciousness degrades sufficiently enough for regularity to start, that's when the population starts growing a bit faster. So the population grows faster in Silver Age, even much faster in the Copper Age, and exponentially in the Iron Age. Hopefully that is answering the question.
Yes, and thank you. There is another question. Do you have a model to calculate the population at the end of the Golden Age?
Okay, so at the end of the Golden Age, the model that we are using for predicting population in the future is reaching almost a straight line. So from the beginning to the end of Golden Age, it's very little increase because the model comes to a straight line. It doesn't last 5,000 years. So its model becomes straight, and only that way we can stretch it to 5,000. I haven't calculated the number, but, and also when I spoke to some seniors, there is a different interpretation of the numbers that are given in the Murlis. So I wouldn't dare give a number, but I can definitely say, and this is checked with Sister Janti, that these generations that I've explained are as I've shared with you, and that's why until a significant change or decrease in our consciousness happens, our population stagnates for a very long time as a flat line.
So then there is a continuation to this.
Okay.
Not a question, but we either come at the beginning or wait till the end of the Golden Age, it seems.
Interesting conclusion. That's right. So could be first generation, second or third. So in the first 100 years, most of the Golden Age souls incarnate. If you are making it in the Golden Age, I would say 99%, let's say 90, not to get caught with numbers, but majority is going to be incarnated in the first 100 years. And that's good news, isn't it?
Mm.
It's good news that we, out of 5,000 years, most of us get incarnated in the first 100 years. And then population stagnates and starts increasing towards after the 15th degree. When we go below 15, it starts increasing again slowly. So definitely the majority is born in the first 100 years. Just the same, I'll now use the opportunity to say this, just like in the last 100 years of the cycle, majority of the souls have only one life. So at least 3/4 of these 8.4 or however many at the moment, I haven't checked, 8.23, I can't remember, billion of incarnated souls. Why am I taking 100 years? Because we can take 80, it doesn't matter. Let's take year 1950, which was, 75, let's say 80 years ago. Why am I choosing this? Is because it's, let's say, current average lifespan. So if I take one lifespan and see how high was the population lifespan ago, which was around 1950 or 1947. It was about 2 billion, 2 billion. And now it's 8 point something billion, which means 4 times bigger, which means 75%, minimum 75% of the souls that were born in the last so many years of a lifespan are in their first birth. So right now, 80% of the souls are in their first birth. I would say between 75 and 80. The same way, the first 100 years, majority of the golden age souls will be born then and will experience almost all of the golden age, which is yay, good news. But what we have to make sure is that we are golden age souls, because if we are fighting with ourselves, you know, I can do this, I can't do that, shall I do this, shall I do that, follow Srimad, not follow Srimad, you know, I mean, if it is a phase, okay, but if we permanently become like that, then might not be golden age. So we really need to achieve our golden age sanskaras now. You know, recently somebody asked me, how do we know that golden age is going to happen? And my answer was, golden age is not going to happen. We are going to make it. Just like this morning I cooked my food and I know what I'm going to have for lunch. Same way, I know that I'm making the golden age now and it's going to be. It's going to happen, but it's not going to fall from the sky. We cannot say cross-legged and wait for the golden age to come from the sky. We have to make it. So what we make now, that's what we get later. Just like Baba says in the place.
Wonderful. Very interesting what you shared. Really very scientifically and very interesting, enlightening.
Okay, I'm glad it's useful.
Yeah, there is another question that says, tell us the logic about Krishna and Radha that came from different kingdoms.
Oh, that's a history question, and that's not my strong side. I guess, you know, what we need to bear in mind that Baba is speaking golden knowledge to iron-edged consciousness. Because when Baba found us, we were iron-edged. So he has to speak the words that iron-edged mind and intellect understand. So, of course, there won't be incest. They cannot be from the different kingdom, but we know from that there is only one kingdom. So what can I say? I mean, yeah, you know, from the Kalpa tree, we know that there is one kingdom, you know, majority of the first half of the cycle. So it's one kingdom in terms of unity, no separation. We are all, you know, equal, brothers and sisters. That's it. In that sense is unity. But blood, we shouldn't be blood related. Logically, I would say that our biology is the same for the body is the same as in the golden age. So I would assume that incest will not be good. So they will have to be from different kingdoms or from different families, maybe different families. But never forget when you read the Murlis, Baba is speaking golden words to iron-edged souls. Not golden words. He has to adjust. He gives golden knowledge by using golden-aged vocabulary and golden-aged knowledge with iron-aged language he speaks. So of course we have to understand Gyan in yoga. So we need to understand the Murlis in yoga, not just word for word, translate this and that. You know, this Yasa Shakti word, you know, even though I didn't know the words, I don't speak Hindi at all. I just know the words that are used in the Murli, you know, the Hindi words that are used in the English translation. These are the only words I know. But Yatha Shakti is not used in the Murlis. I had to dig it out because every time I heard the word capacity, it poked my ear. I couldn't live with the word capacity because I have a cap. I don't want to have a cap. Just like the seed, you give it a little bit of water, a little bit of sunshine, it can't wait to burst. So us, with every little investment, our potential wants to realize itself. And since we have said this, I would like to add that drama has to be beneficial because all that the drama is doing, especially and evidently now in the confluence age, is pulling us towards its realization. So drama is full of events that are giving us an opportunity to learn something that we need to know in order to realize our own potential. So drama is pulling us. This is why drama must be, right now, must be beneficial and nothing else. So however hard it is to see the good reason why something is happening in your life, there is a good reason because it's pulling you towards your potential, towards your number. It's pulling you to realize your own number in the garland, in the, what do we call it, in the rosary.